Hello, Benjis. Hello, Governor. This is Rick Hasty, your host, new from the Ville, and we binge a show to let you know if you should. Now, today with me, I have the incomparable cast, my wonderful co-hosts. I'm gonna start off with Mr. Sintel with the Intel. Say hello to the people.
I don't have a name. Only your purpose.
Wow. Okay, we starting off like that. Okay. Miss Catherine, say hello to the people.
Hello from Memphis. Nice and
All
windy
right.
today.
That's right. Barbecue.
Barbecue time. Oh yeah.
The immeasurable Miss
Measurable.
Courtney Scott Wright. Say hello to the people.
I like.
Hello, hello.
And finally, but not the last one on our list, Mr. Johnny Randolph. Randy, say hello to the people.
What it do, Benjis?
You want to introduce Milo too? We're gonna keep on. We're gonna go through
We
this.
keep going. He
All
might make
right.
a guest appearance out here.
Oh, please don't.
We'll
Him and
get him a
Tupac.
mic.
Him and Tupac. All right. All right. Now, if you're an audience member, feel free to communicate with us. Now, today we're going to let you know if you should watch Amazon Prime's Invincible Season 3. Now, in Invincible Season 3, everything changes as Mark is forced to deal with his past and his future while discovering how much further he'll need to go to protect the people that he loves. Now, the greatest technical producer on land, our producer, Mr. Rodney Cajuto, will post the cast members' ratings for Invincible. Now, while Rodney posts the ratings, I want to let you know that we rate the show at the very beginning, and then we have our discussion, and then we rewrite it again at the end, just to see if anyone had a change of heart. So, Rodney, whenever you're ready, sir, let's see those. Okay, and looky. All right, we have four binge worthies and a full meal. So that's pretty much 3.8. So we're at a right now we're rounding up to a binge worthy. So all right, well, 4.8. So we're rounding up to a binge worthy. So I'm gonna start with you, Catherine. Would you like to talk about your rating?
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I thought it was very entertaining. I did feel like there were some like pacing issues compared to like the other seasons. But that was like my only like issues. Like I felt like this was like very much angry Mark season, and at points angry Mark got on my nerves. And I wanted to focus on some other characters a bit. But for the most part, I think it was like the last episode where I was like, wow, this is incredible. um, but yeah, just issues for me.
Okay, okay. Mr. Randolph, what about your rating, sir?
I gave this a full binge out because I thought the narrative and the approach that this season took. I thought this season was all about violence, and the violence was pronounced. It was gory, it was ostentatious, and it was fast. And I thought though, with this violence though, right? Centel said something years ago that always stuck with me. He said, "Fight scenes tell a story." And you can tell the quality of a fight scene by the story that it tells. And I thought the overall story of this was through the fight scenes. The fight scenes pushed the story. I thought the narrative supported the fight scene. Emotional connections we get through the violence, ups and downs, cheers. We get all through the action and the violence. Therefore, it was never a dull moment with for this. I enjoyed it immensely. I think I even enjoyed it better than seasons 1 and 2. So for me, no doubt it's full binge out.
Okay, all right. Let's follow that up with Mr. Centel.
I thought it was the best season of the series. I think Mark is the best tormented hero I've seen on screen since Peter Parker. And that's what I really enjoy about it. I think Catherine said something that I totally agree with, and that is Mark is annoying. He is, but he's supposed to be annoying, and you're supposed to have a lot of those head smack moments. Like, what are you thinking, my guy? I need you to grow up. And if you're a fan of Peter Parker, he does that on the same level. It's just not as violent, but I enjoy watching the cold water get thrown in Mark's face.
Okay, Miss Courtney.
Um, well, I breaking up.
Yeah.
It's a little bit,
a little
yeah.
bit.
Going on.
Your freeze frame picture is hilarious. You look like you just took a hit of the good. Like you were feeling it.
I can't do this show without my booger sugar.
Y'all are all so.
Okay, we are.
Yeah.
I'm living tornadoes.
Yeah, you cut all the way out, Courtney. Yeah, we having a few little technical issues, and that's all right. I'm gonna go, and when Courtney jumps back in, she can give hers. I actually had the opposite reaction of Catherine, in that I didn't have a problem with the pacing issues. I felt like living in a post X-Men 97 world, what they gave us this season was all gas, no brakes. As a matter of fact, it almost was a welcome. There was one episode in the middle, like maybe episode 5, maybe, where everything slowed down and they had to give us a breather because damn it, we needed one. It's like shit, it was full metal to the pedal. Like it was crazy from the way it started all the way to the end. And they had to give us one for you catch your breath and be like, okay, are you ready? Now we about to hit this back half. Be ready. And I don't know if we was ready. The fight scenes were fantastical, and it's almost where you thought you saw a great fight scene. Then the next one happened. You're like, well, damn it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought that fight scene was one of the best I've seen. And then the next fight scene came along, was like, hold my beer. I was like, oh, damn. And I think we may have gotten one of the best villains, like easy top 5, maybe even higher than that, villains, not just in animated, but maybe one of the best overall, especially to have such a short time on the show. So,
definitely one of the best lines. And some of the guys Intel started with.
He had one of the best villain monologues ever.
It's up there with like, I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse. You know,
Sintel, what did you say? It was like Bane's.
Oh yeah. You think the darkness is your friend?
I don't even have. Yeah. I don't have a name. I just have a purpose.
Yes.
I'm so lonely. I'm
a prisoner of my own success.
Honestly, the lonely thing was like definitely really strong.
Hey, actually, when he started off with that, I thought that scene was gonna go completely different. I was like, oh God, not like this. Not like this. You better get Viltrumite Diddy off of him.
Oh no, he gets off to this. He gets off to that. So like, I'm sorry, he does. There is more to that.
Yeah. I was like, we getting ready to see Viltrumite Diddy. He's getting ready to break out some Viltrumite baby lotion and baby oil.
Johnson in the background.
He had a quiet moment with his enemy. He was like, I just want to thank you, Mark. It's like,
not like this.
Put the belt up.
Not like this.
Hey, Viltrumites, come get your mans, because he is out here.
Whose pit bull is this? Whose pit bull is this?
He's like that cat that likes to be slapped around, but like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, there was a scene, and so as Sintel and I were watching it, we were doing the reactions on his channel, which are phenomenal, by the way. There was one scene where Mark hit him or whatever, and he sounded just like Della Reese in Harlem Nights. Like, oh yeah, that's what I wanted. That's how.
Now you want garbage kids.
I was like, yeah, but you ain't gonna be shooting off no pinky toes. This gonna be different.
Whoever this character ends up with, like in terms of whatever, there is a kink there. There's a kink fetish there. He enjoys that
too much.
Well,
Oh
now I
man.
know that we can talk about world building, we can talk about the plot, but I really think that we should talk about this season and the character development. Does anybody want to jump in here and talk about any specifics as far as character development without remember everybody watching us that we are spoiler free, so we're
Okay.
trying to give you the best review, the best that we can without spoiling it for you, which everything we just said a minute ago, you'll see what we talk about. This
If
is
I can jump
inside
in
jokes
just
right
real
now.
Go
quickly,
ahead.
just character development. That was actually, I thought, one of the weaker parts. And I don't know if it was weak, as in, I got a lot of great characters that I just wanted to see more of. And I didn't get that with a couple of them. One, just put it like this: they break out of prison, and there's an alien out there who he wants all the smoke as well. And I wish that I could have saw some more of him. The guy with the one eye, I'm sorry, I forgot his name.
Adam.
Yeah, Adam. I wish I could have got more of him. So there
Who,
were
Alan?
Alan.
Oh,
Alan.
sorry, my
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alan. Yeah, there were several not that there were just several characters that I enjoyed seeing. They got such short screen time. I would have liked to see a lot more development from them.
Yeah, I did know that. I wanted to actually see more characters outside of like I know this is about Mark and main characters and stuff, but I did really like the Cecil backstory and getting more of that information behind the character and seeing more of his motivations and how it correlates to other characters. I'm trying not to spoil that, but I did like that and appreciate that. I just think
Here's
continue.
here's the one thing that I thought was really good this year, and I know they couldn't have, but it felt like the way that they gave backstory and gave context to certain characters, it felt like it's like, okay, we're gonna watch all the opening minutes of Arcane and we're gonna do that. Because that story about Cecil was amazing. And there were several others that they gave that necessary backstory to. He was like, damn, I thought that was really strong. Even though for me, character development, I Trey said it, and I think Johnny said it too. I didn't realize until this season that how much Mark annoyed the hell out of me. And I think the problem was it's not Mark, it's me. And what I mean by that is I'm used to seeing Spider-Man. Spider-Man is a flawed character, but he's young. When we first see Spider-Man, he's like a freshman in high school, and we grow with him. But if you go back and look at Spider-Man, I didn't realize this until comparing him to Mark. Spider-Man is a grown ass dude in a teenager's body. Like he makes a lot of grown person decisions. He's probably one of the most mature damn teenagers ever in the history of teenagers, which that's bullshit.
Well,
And
he's a
that's the
genius.
yeah,
Peter
but
Parker is a genius.
he's still a teenager.
I
Shit.
understand. Yeah, no. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I think that's why Mark is the reason Mark doesn't annoy me is because he's an actual 20-year-old. This is how 20 and 21-year-olds act. Like they're
Yes,
trying to figure
but
out their lives.
and you're right. That's my point. That watching Mark, I was annoyed with Mark because I was like, Spider-Man makes better decisions. And then I thought about it and I was like, Spider-Man is actually the anomaly.
I disagree.
Mark is a
Yeah.
typical 19-year-old. He makes 19-year-old decisions. And a lot of times he didn't learn from the last thing. It took a while for him to kind of learn and be like, oh, okay. My mom used to always say, a hard head makes a soft ass. And that's Mark.
Yeah, but
But
I also
he's
think
a typical 19-year-old.
but I also think the one thing that I reminded myself, and I can't speak for anybody else, but that we're looking at him through the gaze and narrative of people who have not been 20 in a long time. I'm not trying to give anybody's age, but do you know what I'm saying? Like we're looking at with an adult gaze. an adult narrative, and also the history of all the other comic book characters that we've watched. And to your point, we're comparing him to Spider-Man, to like maybe even a young Clark Kent, Smallville. Like we're you can't really compare. Like he's set in present day in a world where he found out his dad is not the hero he always was raised to be. He's actually the villain and wants him to be the villain too. That was his grow up moment. That was his like, what? So everything he's been doing has been trying to counteract everything his dad did. He's not even living as himself. He's trying, this season 3 is the first time Mark is really trying to break out and build a life for himself. So this is doing something outside of what Omni-Man raised him to do and be, and he's trying to step away from that. So yeah, he's annoying because he's trying and failing, but trying still. And I
Yeah, but
think that's what he's supposed to be doing.
but that's my point. Where I found him annoying at first because he was a typical 19-year-old, I reframed my thinking and didn't find him as annoying and found him because he's a typical 19, 20-year-old. He's doing the stuff a typical 20-year-old is doing, minus the whole my daddy is a psychopath Superman alien who wants to take over the world and he just beat me damn near half to death. And he's got like the trauma of all traumas on him and he's still trying to figure it out. And for a while, it annoyed me because I was used to what we saw in other comic books where we didn't see kids who acted like kids. We said, yes, Peter Parker is a genius. Yes, Amadeus Cho is a genius. We're used to Tony Stark, and we're used to all these people who didn't act like typical people their age. And it annoyed me at first when I saw Mark, because I was like, why is he doing this? Why is he doing this? And why is he doing that? But then I had to reframe my thinking. I'm like, you know what? He's doing what a normal teenager, young adult would do. They're going to do some dumb shit. And they're going to learn, you know what I'm saying? Because not every, experience is the best teacher. And we are cheated by a whole lot of what we see in superhero stuff because very few times and in between it becomes a big iconic moment that they learn from some of these experiences. Spider-Man had to learn by causing the death of Gwen Stacy, and that changed how he did things. But I mean, it took a while to get to those where Mark is learning or not learning some shit every episode and several times an episode because he does some dumb shit.
So,
and he's
Okay.
still finding his way.
Can we jump in? Can somebody else jump
Yeah,
in?
go ahead.
Go ahead, Santel.
I hear what y'all saying, but I think what kind of stuck to me regarding character development was like the correlations with Cecil, with Mark, Oliver, and Powerplex. There's a through line that kind of deals with like consequences, forgiveness, and like empathy. And I thought that really stood out because you have Oliver checking his brother. You have Oliver kind of like trying to understand the relationship that his father had with the planet that he's supposed to protect, trying to figure out his own powers. Powerplex trying to figure out and place blame on actions that happen, and him taking power himself and doing things as a result of those actions. Cecil's backstory does a very good example of showing that, there's a gray area in some of the choices that you had to make. So for me, I loved the character development and some of the questions that is asked, and I liked those 4 examples that they showed.
Real quickly, season 2, they talked about in every multiverse, Mark ends up evil. I thought that was interesting. So I don't know where this story ends because I haven't read the comics or anything or don't know where they're going. Are we seeing the journey of Mark into maybe some of those personality traits of those multiverses characters? So I found that kind of interesting.
Like it was very much like trying to teeter the line where there's like Marcus trying to restrain himself, but sometimes he's angry and he's like, on that verge of abusing power in certain situations.
Like, but did they try the same thing? It's like, I don't know. We don't like, I don't know. I'm like, where are we going with Mark and his whole journey?
From the show.
Oh no, go ahead.
From the show, we don't know, but I guess for me, it's like I did like the relationships between different characters, and yeah, he is, I guess, a 19/20-year-old. I guess for me, it just kind of reminded me of Spider-Man 3 in like in terms of like, to me it was a bit too much of like angry, angsty, and like, yeah, I've met. I guess I'm going back to when being in college, undergraduate college, and like definitely, especially with like younger men, being a bit more like, can get more in the aggro annoyed stage, and considering his, backstory, or not backstory, his prior seasons and his upbringing and all this stuff happening for him, it's just like it was reads a bit too much of like a complaining, annoying Mark. And that might just be my patience with complaining, annoying characters. So that's all.
Well, what I was gonna say before my face froze. What I was gonna say, kind of going along in terms of like story, because what I was trying to say was my favorite thing is always the story. And, kind of going on, piggybacking off what Johnny said about like the violence, or well, I'll say the battle scenes. I will say the violence was violencing a lot. For me, it was a lot more violent in these battles. That the last battle, exceptionally, I couldn't even watch half that battle. I had to fast forward a lot because there were a lot of moments that I couldn't handle, just like the bone protruding from certain places, and the wounds that were given. But I will say that the story in and of itself, the progression of it from the beginning of the season to the end, was really all about Mark learning who is the man he wants to be. Who is the man he wants to be, and what kind of superhero does that make him? And that, like, to the points that, like, Centel made about like the empathy, the conversations with Oliver, his relationship with Eve, and even like, trying to build a relationship versus like the conversation that he had, which I think was at the end of season 2, with like multiverse Eve versus like, why is he starting this relationship now? And also his relationship with the rest of the people, the rest of the superheroes. I thought that story and the evolution and all the worlds that he went to, like, I think one of my favorite episodes was when he went on the date with Eve. He was trying to get that first date in, and like, he got snatched. and that whole experience with the immortal, man, that was probably one of my favorite episodes, just because he tried to do everything right, everything the boundaries that he set for himself, so that he always knew he was different. And then the boundaries that he set for himself with Cecil. And then Cecil came back and like exploded his ear, was like, yo, what? You put this thing where? Like, all the things that he's having to grow. These are his growth spurts that he's trying to break out of that annoyingness, but he is annoyed. He is annoyed at the things that are happening to him in his life, and he's trying to figure out, where do I fit, and still get to be Mark. So the story, I thought, was really compelling. It was driven a lot by the battles, especially like the Powerplex storyline. The I think it's Titan. Was that the black guy?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Like, all of these little vignettes, these moments that he's having with people, even like his time at the memorial, like, and everything that happened with Rex. I think that it's really shaping him so that he is got to find a way out of his annoyance so that we will be less annoyed. Does that make sense?
It does. And I agree with everything you said. And I think we're both saying kind of the same thing, but two different ways to get to saying it, because what you're saying is I said in a different way, but yeah, I found myself not as annoyed with Mark as I was first watching the season, and that was just because of my frame of reference and stuff. And I was like, I did enjoy seeing him grow. Like towards the end of the season, I really did see the growth in him, and I was like, yeah, but he's a teenager, but he's, with great power comes, I get it. What were the standout performances that elevated the show this particular season?
Um, uh, I have my.
Explode. I love that one.
I like. Can I say this character? I mean, I can't say the name of the character, but can I say the actor who voices him?
I mean, you can say the
Sure.
name of the character. We just try not to go into,
Well,
like
it might be
crazy.
spoiler though. I don't know if it is. I mean, you have the character on your background, but I don't know if I can. Well, now I just pointed out.
Oh,
no,
Conquest.
Conquest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Conquest for me, like I heard those lines. I know we mentioned about the king. But that really stood out to me. That was like, wow, this is a villain, and it's ironic considering the voice actors and their prior.
That part.
Yeah.
That part.
Yeah,
that
he
I
was
like, that's so
exceptional.
meta. That's so meta.
And he's
Jeffrey
a
Dean
villain.
Morgan.
Yeah, but also the director of this did that same show. So there's a lot of references.
Yeah.
But even I've not watched The Walking Dead. I just heard about it. I looked at the deep dives.
Oh wait, who directed it? Who directed the last episode?
Or no, the creator, the person.
Yeah, Robert Kirkman.
Oh,
wrote
you're talking about Robert
Walking
Kirkman.
Dead
Okay,
and
yeah.
Invincible,
But did he direct that last episode?
I don't think so.
Oh,
Okay.
maybe I
I don't think he directs.
Let me check. I don't. Yeah.
I know
He may
that
have written. Maybe he
I
wrote
know
that episode.
I know that he's writing the adaptation because, well, and I'll get to this in a minute, but he's already talked about like season 4 stuff.
Yes, yeah.
To piggyback on Catherine's point, like, yeah, this character Conquest shows up, and I like the fact that Conquest is just a villain. He's not an anti-hero. He's not complicated. He's like, no, I'm just here to do what I said. When I send you this picture, that means I'm pulling up. And it ain't nothing you can do to stop it. You can't negotiate it. You can't buy it out. I'm just pulling up and it's on site. And I love that. I think we've gotten a little sometimes too complicated in our villains, and sometimes you just need a reel up your mustache, just a downright villain, and that's what we got here. That was a standout performance for me.
Did it for the love of the game. Just yes.
But sorry, Catherine, I didn't mean to cut you off. I go ahead. You go first, then I'll say.
No, I already. You go first. I'll go after you. Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna jump in and say, like, his villainous turn. It was rooted though. It was rooted. It wasn't complex. But he given a mission. His monologue, which I'm not gonna get into, but his monologue when that moment before the conclusion of that scene, when he explained to Invincible why he was there, why he was sent, why it was his part, like, and it all came down to one sentence that he just expounded upon. I was blown away by that. Like, not only the performance of it, but the dialogue itself and the whispered way. It was like it was a secret between them. This is a secret. I can only share this with you now because I'm going to end your life. And I really just need to say it. It was so badass. Like, Jeffrey Dean Morgan is the GOAT. Like,
that's villain monologue. That's villain monologue. Like,
if we could get him as a villain in the MCU, like,
right, that's what we right. Yeah, like
he should have been doomed. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, somebody like that should have been doomed.
And one of us is not walking away from this. That's it.
I want to thank you. Oh my God!
No. Like I said, it wasn't that. Courtney is absolutely right. He said one thing and then expounded on it. When he pulled him close and leaned in and said, "I'm so lonely," I said, "Oh
But see, I
shit."
wasn't trying to give that away. I
No.
was literally trying to not spoil that moment.
No,
And then,
because the rest of it, I'm not giving that away, but the rest of what he says,
That was the key.
I
That was the key part that was important.
I
Yeah,
swore
that's
it was getting ready to turn into Viltrumite dittiness. Like it was getting ready to go bad. I was like, because this show is wild enough, like The Boys, that you don't know what the hell is getting ready to happen.
And the thing is, like, everybody can get it. Kids, women, children, like those scenes, like everybody could get it throughout this series.
Yeah.
And that last scene when he was forcing Mark through like the rummage and everything, and you seeing limbs flying. Maybe I'm giving a spoiler, but you seeing all this going, you was like, oh my God, it's kids and women and children and babies out here, getting it in this scene.
Viltrumite violence.
Right. But
it was that finale. Like it was one of those type of finales, and for a fight scene, it's one of those type of things that you almost stand up and feel go. Standing ovation. Like that's how you do it. Yeah,
it was so emotionally driven.
It was
because it was through Mark's gaze.
Yeah.
We were feeling what Mark was feeling. Not even like, yes, we were watching Conquest, but that's why I said like I fast forward because I was feeling what Mark was feeling. And I was like, I wasn't like fast forwarding like a minute at a time. I'm talking like 10 seconds here, 10 seconds there, just because I needed Mark to get through that moment. And it was hurting me because he was hurting. And but that's the mark of a good show because I was feeling what the hero was feeling. And at the same time, it was so profound. This show went somewhere this season, right down to Powerplex's storyline. Now, I have read the majority of the comic. I know where it's going. But I definitely read through that Powerplex, so I knew what was coming. So when old girl made her choice, the Powerplex is family. His wife made her choice and was like, because she planned that. She planned that moment for him. And it was so devastatingly dark, But this is where they were going this season, to your point about the violence, but it was always rooted in story.
Yeah.
Just a quick one. Robert Kirkman said that he's taking the show in a different direction than for all of us comic fans that have read it. I think we're going to be in for a treat, so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh yeah, especially with the way it ended. But I was going to add something. It's about the Conquest part, but there are definitely a lot of it actually interesting. A lot of Conquest lines are actually from the comics, but there were some added things which I felt like they added more depth to that character. So to me, he wasn't he was a villain, but there were elements that made him more three-dimensional than just this standard cookie cutter villain. I don't know, just like that little quote really added a lot for me.
Yeah, that monologue is not in the comics.
Yeah.
That monologue is not in the comics. And I appreciate so much that Robert Kirkman himself wrote all that. Like, it's not some other nebulous, Hollywood dude is like, I think this would be cool. No, Robert Kirkman's like, I know these characters. He wrote that in there. And Jeffrey Dean Morgan, chef's kiss to that. Like he performed that. Even though I sent a video out, if y'all have not seen that final episode in Japanese, listen, you might need to watch it. Because there's a difference in certain, like when I watch Attack on Titan in Japanese and I watch it in English, it's different. When I watched it in Japanese Solo Leveling and then I watched it in English, it's a different. Watch it in Japanese. With subtitles on, you'd be like, oh my God. I mean, it's not Jeffrey Dean Morgan, but it's something.
I wanted to throw my hat
was there
in
anybody
real
else?
quick. Yeah. I wanted to throw my hat in real quick for two characters that I thought added a lot of value. One of my favorite episodes up until 7 and 8, because 7 and 8 are light hands down the two best episodes of the seasons. But before you get to that, there's a season that deals with Cecil. And there's an interesting relationship that Cecil and Mark have, and Mark is trying to get a understanding of the gray area when it comes to making difficult choices. And Cecil's one off to understand how he became this man and how he's able to make these difficult choices and uncomfortable choices, I thought was great. I thought the actor, oh my gosh, he's in White Lotus.
Walter
Walton
Goggins.
Walter Goggins. I think he kills it. There's a calmness in his voice, but it's stern and powerful. But you get a chance to see that it may not have always been that way. And I think we needed to see that to understand some of the choices that character is going to make later on, be it good or bad. And then the final one is Rex. Rex is, to me, is the full-blown definition of a man-child. And we get to see him take some very different changes and choices, and had other characters bring out a more mature side of him. And he makes a choice that, to me, is a legendary choice. And it to me, if it wasn't for for some of the later episodes with the spectacle of the violence, when it comes to the softer notes of the heart of what some of these characters have to do and have to sacrifice in order to become the people that they are, I think Rex is one of the better examples of the season.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That was my choice.
I agree completely. That was actually going to be my choice. And I said, and actually when
I interrupted Catherine to say, Rex explode.
Yeah, after the season was over, when I got back to, start kind of going back through it and reflecting and thinking about the deep dives I'm going to do, Rex and the decisions that he made, and even his growth, his character development over the course of this, is what actually gave me a little bit more insight into Mark. I was like, because shit, if Rex can evolve and become a better person, anybody can. Hell, anybody. Because you're right, man-child is absolutely right, but he grew, and you could see him really trying. He was putting in the effort to not only be a better teammate, but just a better person. Whether that was because of Ray or just because that's where he wanted to do, like even where he stood 10 toes down on, like, nah, this is not right. We out of here. Like, I mean, it wasn't like a Jerry Maguire moment, but you know what I'm saying? It was cool. Like, I enjoyed Rex immensely this season. Did we
the Rex's scene in the comic book, it was pretty much verbatim. So I knew it was coming, and it was still every bit as devastating for me. But watching who he had become during the course of this season, I thought it was absolutely earned. And that's always important with the arc of a character. Is it earned? And I think we felt it the way that we did because we spent time with him from season 1 to cheating on Eve to, who he was in this final season.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But
y'all didn't like Powerplex? Jesse Pinkman or Aaron Paul?
Yeah, I thought he was funny for some reason. Like, I don't know. It was just he was funny in a way that like he kind of like he's kind of rage and all that stuff. Maybe it's just his voice and with Powerplex, and it kind of has like a goofy demeanor. But I don't know. It's just like him like blaming Mark for some reason was a little bit comical to me. But I know that's a problem for him. But I think it's just some of the deliveries of some of it just felt a little comedy. But it was very compelling episode. I'm not saying it wasn't tragic or anything, but it was very compelling.
I don't want to say I didn't like his character, but I did like what his character made us think about as viewers of this, because he is again, he reacted like a typical person. At the beginning, he wanted justice. There was a wrong and injustice. He felt an injustice happen, and he wanted justice. And a lot of times for those people that we view as heroes, we give them a pass for a whole lot of stuff, even when they have done wrong, like wrong. We like, hey, but he's a hero. You got to give him a pass. It's like, and it's in a lot of cases, we're quick to say that. And especially in America, nothing bothers us until it directly bothers us. Then we're like, oh my God, why isn't somebody doing about this? Because when it was somebody else, you didn't give a shit. Now that it affects you, now you care. But at in the same token, it really made you think about is like he's blaming Mark for a lot of stuff that Mark is responsible for, but it also wasn't his fault. So where do you draw that line on how consequences should be doled out to people, especially when people's like, I was just trying to help, but I effed up and this happened as a result of it. Like, how does that even work? And and then they made his character like go off the deep end and where he couldn't see past it wasn't about justice anymore. Now it's about vengeance. And he went all the way off the deep end. And that's also kind of a typical thing too. It was an interesting conversation to be had around his character. I'll say that. So
my note is super quick. Aaron Paul and Zoe Saldana are both cut from the same cloth of annoyance. I probably would have enjoyed Powerplex a lot more if it's just
not that voice.
Paul is the same thing. He's that same note. He's that same
shrill
scream, that same shrill, just like Zoe Saldana. And I like Zoe Saldana and I like Aaron Paul, but I have to take them in doses. And when they get extreme, it's like scratching a chalkboard to me.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that was why I brought it up, because
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know if I was alone in that feeling, because I was like, what did everybody else feel? And now I know I was not alone. Because he's just always at 10. Like he started the arc and very, calm and centered, and he had a purpose. He was seeking justice the right way. And then once he decided, to make a hero bid into a challenge, then it just went to 10 and it stayed there. Like his voice lives in this place of just constant shouting, and it's struggling. It's interesting that you compared him to Zoe Saldana, because that's exactly how I feel about her.
Yeah.
She is always up here. She is always up here. Everything. Like, I can't watch her in Avatar. Like, Avatar makes me want to like punch her blue face. I really hate her character. She's the worst.
I guess
that's why I won't watch Lioness. Sorry, go ahead, Catherine.
I guess I didn't even realize it was Aaron Paul, but to me it sounded like he had a head cold throughout the whole time he was talking. Like little comical, because he's like, oh man, and just like kind of sounded like that's what I could hear.
That's
so
hilarious.
When he was angry, I couldn't. It was just like it just felt like comedy. Like, yeah, there's some tragic things that happened and it helped move Mark along and stuff, but it was just the head cold aspect that I thought added a little bit of comedy.
It's the act. It's his voice acting. I mean, that character is actually very tragic. And in the hands of a good voice actor, you could have had a lot of empathy for him. I just think the performance we got was,
yeah. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Now, we gave our ratings at the beginning. As is typical now in this world where we've had Marvel movies, they give these post credits, these, mid credits and post credits. And we got kind of a Lord of the Rings kind of thing where in the post credits, after the season was done, they're showing the credits, we get to see some narrative of things that are coming. And we got a short preview of a lot, like not just one villain, like a whole lot of stories. Like, Jesus, like Mark can't catch a break to save his life. Like, he better get his whole life together, because they showed a lot. How do we feel
was there more than one post? Was there more than one post? Because I only saw the one.
No, they showed it all together, but they showed
a lot.
3-4 villains. Like, they showed a lot happening.
I don't remember. I've watched.
Yeah, I'm like, I just watched it today. I only saw the one in the cave.
The cave, the rat person. I mean, it was a lot.
Oh
of
yeah,
them.
that's
the
right.
sewers, the
sewers.
Sewer,
Yeah.
Little buddy in space.
Right.
The multi-voice person. Then the character we're talking about just being in a bunk. Yeah, I mean, yeah,
and that's not even to mention that the Viltrumites are still coming.
Right. Yeah, it was a
The
lot.
He just had a
White Walkers are
whole
still
problem
there.
in episode 7 and
All right,
episode
okay.
8. And the
I forgot.
Viltrumites, what's that? There 50 of them, 50 purebloods, and they on
Well,
the way.
49 now. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
Is
I
it?
think-
Well, in this world, because remember episode 7 dealt with multiverse stuff. So, but in this world, I mean, you know, there might be a little bit less because of some things that happened in this season, but it's still 40 plus
Yeah, it's a
on the
lot.
way.
I-
It's
a lot.
it's a problem.
That's why I feel like Mark. I don't want to spoil, but does he break bad? I feel like he's going to break bad at some point. He got a lot of pressure to be dealing with.
Well, you know what I'm saying? Just imagine him getting jumped. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know how like gang members get jumped into the gang? You get jumped by some Viltrumites. Okay, so maybe it's not conquest, but remember, Anissa gave him the beats.
She gave him more than the beats.
Oh yeah, that's
Well.
Really-
She got, or let's put it like she got,
But-
yeah, she gave more than the beats.
Well, not
I
yet.
think,
But
I think what
that's
you're talking about when you're saying about getting jumped in, I think that's kind of like the beauty of episode 7. Because you know, you he's kind of like facing he's dealing with his own issues. He's looking at a mirror in a lot of ways. I'm just trying to not be too spoilery. In that battle. And yeah, he's facing those issues head on violently.
yeah, but here's the thing too about that. 20 of them showed up, or 18, something like that. At the end, there's a whole problem worldwide, globally. There's a problem, and there's still 8 of them that made it, that are knocked out or whatever. That the 40 plus on the way. Shit.
You talking about? I don't understand your comment. I don't know if you're talking about Viltrumites or you talking about the people from episode 7. Who you talking about?
Episode 7, those were
No, the people.
No,
the mirror,
are
his
no longer-
mirrors.
I understand. Okay, that's what you're talking about. I just
Yes,
wanted to
his
confirm because
mirrors.
you said 40 plus are on the way.
Yeah, the 40 plus Viltrumites. So he in
Okay.
episode 7, he saw mirrors. So one's about as strong as him, and it took everybody on the planet, all the superheroes, to deal with 18 of them, and there's still 8 that kicking. 40 plus Viltrumites on the way. It's a problem. On top of the other stuff we saw at the end of episode 8. That's all I'm saying. Like, as far as cliffhangers, it's like, my God.
I think I'm really curious about the end of episode 8, because like I haven't read the comics. I like to listen to what is.
Wait. So just so you're aware, though, that's the change that
I know.
Robert Kirkman was
That's
talking about.
That's why I'm
He
curious.
said he wanted to do that in the comics,
Yeah,
and other stuff kept coming up, and he never got to do it. So he's going to do it now.
that's why I'm curious about. This was going to bring
Yeah.
up not in the comics, and I'm really I like creatures and all that stuff. Sorry, like and other animal things, whatever. But I'm really excited about that part out of everything else that's happening. Curious about the next season, what's going to happen with that. But also, when you mentioned pain and feeling characters' pain, I felt secondhand pain when I saw the violence. I felt all that pain. So that's all, the only note I wanted to add.
Mm-hmm. So now we already know that that this is coming back for an additional season. We already know that's they're working on season 4 right now. Here's one thing, and this is a specialized question, really, actually, for Catherine. I know that you and Chuck can go in and talk all day about the animation and stuff, but I read some comments online that a lot of people were upset with the animation this season, and it was explained that there was a decrease or something, like the value of the animation was a little bit lower, but that let them get the season out faster, so that it didn't take several years to get it out, that they could get it out in 1 year. Was that a problem for you? Because I didn't see it for real until somebody said it. I was like, shit, the story's great, the villain's great, the fights are great, I'm loving it. And then somebody's like, yeah, but the animation. I was like, oh, okay. But Was that an issue for you at all, or?
Not really. Like I feel like Invincible had like all of its seasons have that like you can tell where they cut budget for animation, and you can tell that they cut a lot of budget for animation and emphasized the last episode, like or certain sequences, but especially the last episode. They put a lot of money, more money into the last episode than the other prior animation setups. But it doesn't bother me, and I think it's just the way like they designed the characters, the way they laid it out, and like the way they rigged those characters. I think the story, the voice acting, and the color palette, and so the design for me works. It's not as jarring as certain shows, but it didn't bother me. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Good. Because it didn't bother me at all, but I didn't even notice it. And I was like, okay, that's the thing that Captain and Chuck would have noticed it. I ain't noticed it at all. But
It be those people on the internet. They don't have no real friends.
Well,
Them and Milo be real friendly, so they find stuff to nitpick
that's
at.
who it was that said it. Milo.
It
Milo
was
said
probably
it.
Milo.
It was Milo. I think I read Milo's comment.
Yeah. I will say this, and I think it's because it's also like it has. I mean, yeah, there's 3D like environments and certain things, but because it has more of like a 2D, like a certain aesthetic versus like the Spider-Man show, which is very like 3D.
Mm-hmm.
And there's certain angles and shots to me that don't work as well, and maybe it's just because I like 2D things and I like 3D things, but sometimes when you go for a 3D thing and it's 2D and it's not done like a certain way, it shows. It's more jarring for me compared to like this, but it also depends on the style and all those things. No, I'm not trying to raise my hand, Zoom, but sorry. I think this like just the design just helps that for me. But people might like just not like that, and compare it especially to different anime shows where it's like the animation's all in, and people are comparing it to that. But yeah.
For me, season 1 was great. Season 2 was great. Season 3 was phenomenal. Where we already know we're getting a season 4 that's going in a different direction, and most of us who have read the comics are going to get something that we don't know what's coming because we haven't read whatever he's going to put in season 4, or maybe most of season 4. I don't know if it's going to be all brand new or mostly brand new. So that we know this story has to at least go through season 5, like for him to get back to the main story and end it right. We know we're getting at least 5 seasons. Like, do you think this is one of those IPs that can withstand, like Game of Thrones was good until it wasn't, and it was like, okay, we have jumped the shark, and these last couple seasons we could have done
No,
without
you can't
them, so.
compare. You can't compare because Robert Kirkman
No.
is
That's what I
actively
was gonna say.
invested
No,
in
and
Invincible, as opposed to them fools over at Game of Thrones kicked George R. Martin out because he was asking them too many questions and
and
had
then
too
went
much
past the
information
books.
for them.
Yeah. No,
No, they
I'm
didn't
not.
want his input.
No,
No.
what I'm saying, and I'm not comparing it to that in that way. But do we think this can go? I don't know. Like The Simpsons been on 30 years. I'm not saying this is gonna go 30 years, but do we think this can go 7, 8 seasons, or do you
To
think there's gonna
Courtney's
be?
point, as long as Robert Corkman is involved in it, I think it can go on as long as he wants it to.
As long as he wants it to, and that's yeah.
I actually agree with that. I think this is one of the few properties that's out there that, I mean, I know we're only 3 seasons in, but I don't see any falter. I don't see any drop in the actual quality. And I think that what we're getting is excellence. And it seems like that excellence will continue to be on the screen. Like I said, story to me is king. So you give me story. And I know from the comics, there is a superior story to be told.
Yeah, they have
And
a lot of story left to tell on Mark's journey before they get to that final act. And, to answer your question from earlier, who he ends up becoming at the end of Invincible, you
mhm.
know? So I mean, I would love for him to go through. Now, who's to say Kirkman includes all of the stories and journeys and things
Mhm.
that happen in those? Because it's 3 compendiums.
Yeah.
of Invincible, and I'm only in the like beginning of Compendium 3. So like,
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying?
Warmed up.
Yeah, and
I've
Amazon or
Yeah,
whatever may not give him that much opportunity to tell all these
exactly.
stories, but
I hate to
He
rain on
may.
y'all's parade, but
Hmm.
I disagree. I think it can absolutely go
Ooh.
left because Robert Kirkman, it's not like he didn't go left with The Walking Dead, and they had these all random spinoffs that have nothing to do with his original content. And
But he was
in the end
kicked
of
was
the
that?
out.
day,
He was kicked
um,
out. He left
well,
The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
uh, money is a very big motivator for studios who are struggling to get views with a lot of high competition. And I personally don't think any property is exempt from change. Right
Oh
now,
yeah.
I hope we're all right and we can he can finish it out. I'd even go even further to say I'd hope not only can Kirkman finish out Invincible, but he has other properties that are in the Invincible verse that are just as
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I would like to see that expand, but nothing. I don't think any of us should be expecting this to necessarily stick the landing. I think it's good to be cautiously optimistic. And with what Kurtman has given us so far.
I don't know. Right now, I feel like I am willing to give him enough leeway. And I mean, I know that we have seen the demise of, even Marvel, and Kevin Feige is, like, it's almost like you should take this whole season and throw this on Kevin Feige's desk. And like, this is the way you do Secret Invasion. How do you mess up Samuel L. Jackson? This
Uh,
So,
right
but
here. Like,
I
but
do think
we
part
don't
of it
talk.
is that like we
Yeah.
have creators in these spaces they don't like comic books.
That
They
I've
don't
never read a
like
comic book.
yeah, they don't read them. So like I think the lesson that we're getting here is like if you're going to rely on source material, get the creators involved and rely on source material. So that's I guess that's how I look at it.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll just say it's one thing. Like I wasn't suggesting that I don't know. I feel like you misinterpreted what I was saying, Santel. Like I'm saying that it could go, but it doesn't need to go. Like there's a lot of story. You don't need to do 3 compendiums in a TV show. That's not what I was saying. I think that wherever he wants it to go in the series, actually, as long as he's involved in it, he could change it to whoever he wants it to be. He could have it go whichever way he wants it to be, as long as it's his story. And if he sells it to somebody else and they mess it up and it turns into that last season of Game of Thrones or Secret Invasion, then that's, as long as he got paid. But I do think that I personally choose to, given these first 3 seasons and where they took us, I can only think about season 4. So I choose to be hopeful for season 4 and whatever he's going to give us. Beyond that, I don't even know we're going to get a 5, but I'm hopeful for 4.
Hmm.
So I have
Okay,
high
we're on the
hopes
same
for 4.
page. We're
Yeah.
on the same
Yeah.
page.
I
Then.
feel like we all are. We all saying the
Hmm.
Yeah.
same thing.
uh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
As long as he stays involved, if
Right.
there's
We're
hope.
gonna give it a chance.
There's
We're gonna be
hope. Yes.
optimistic as long as he's involved.
Yes.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
hope.
I guess
At
for
the
me,
best.
it's like I'm kind of it can go either or, even with
Hmm.
the writers and all that stuff. And I think I'm kind of echoing a lot of what a lot of people are saying, but we'll see what happens next season. It could go really well or it could be horrible.
Yeah.
Even with the writing team in the backing, they can just choose to they're going in a different direction from comics, so we don't know how that's going to turn out. So
Well, I'm excited
Yeah.
to see what it's
Because
gonna be.
listen, it's his baby. I follow him on his yellow brick road. As long as he's on the road too, because that's when you get stuff and you get creators attached that, to your point, don't read comics, don't even like books. Uh, you
They
know,
just need that mortgage payment.
they just
That's
need the
it.
mortgage
That's
payment.
it.
And people are like, people just didn't want to read about their character in
No.
Game of Thrones. But my favorite example, and then I'm done. I think about Alan Rickman in the Harry Potter series. Like nobody wanted to know about their character from like the
From the
author, like from
books. Yeah.
JK. They didn't want to know. They just wanted, like, and I think the kids were reading the books, but Alan Rickman, when he got cast, he wanted to know who he was, who Snape was, and where Snape was going. And he read everything. And he knew the trajectory of his arc. So he started playing it in the first movie. He started playing in the first movie so that because he knew where he was going, whereas everybody else was getting their scripts, they read the books, but they were getting their scripts. They didn't know the history. So that's why Snape's arc was so friggin' powerful. By the time he got to his final moment,
Yeah.
chef's kiss.
He was the MVP. Yeah.
Oh yeah. R.I.P. Alec Rickman.
Yes.
Great actor. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go back to the point, like, some of the writers can get brain fog and just be like, we like the story, we like the script, this is great, but then just decide to fall off the train, and I don't know. We'll see what happens next season.
Well, also, and I this is a little quick one too. And we've had this conversation regarding how art can change due to life. Life reflects art, art reflects life, and we're seeing some big changes, and we are going to start seeing that reflected in the art shortly. Because some of the art that's been created now was doing before the culture has made this big shift, and Invincible is very inclusive. So don't be surprised over the pressure, because the person that owns the platform is a part of that of this new ideology. So nothing regarding diversity is safe. So just keep that in mind as well.
Yeah.
But all those people are losing money, so I mean, I know they're all billionaires, but they're losing a lot of money. So we'll see what happens too.
We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. So do we let's rewrite this thing. Let's and I guess I'll go first. I am going to stay at a full binge out of the BingeWorthy. I just based on our discussion here and just based on the season itself, I still think it was phenomenal, and it just, to me, it's a full binge out. Let's see, Randy.
Full binge out. Yeah, it don't require a lot of thought.
Catherine.
I'm kind of teetering, but I do feel like I did watch something earlier this morning that pointed out different things, and that might have influenced my decision. So I think I'm just gonna go up to a binge worthy, even though like it's not like, I think the last episode for me is really what I really enjoyed a lot, and it's just really fresh in my mind. So
Okay.
But I'll move it up to a binge worthy.
Okay. Centel.
Meme culture to me is always a great barometer of how people are just interested in the meme culture that's been coming from Invincible, especially like the season finale has been top tier. And I think that's a pretty good barometer of if you're dealing with something that people are interested in. It's binge worthy through and through, and I'm looking forward to the next season and of course the new memes.
Yeah.
Okay. And finally, to bring us home, Courtney.
Oh yeah, I'm going to stay. I'm gonna stay with a binge worthy. I'm gonna let it ride, and yeah, I enjoyed every single episode. It's a testament if it makes me cringe because I'm like feeling in my feelings for my character, for my boy Mark. I'm like, oh God, please don't let him die. Like it was touch and go there a few episodes. So that's the mark of me being invested in his journey. So as long as I'm invested and the journey of all the characters that are around him, even little Oliver, his little ass got on my last nerve. But he came through. He came through.
That
think
youth is something else.
Talk about monologue with my man. No, I don't want to spoil it. We'll go on.
No,
I'm just talking about Oliver. When.
Oh, I thought. Oh,
yeah. Oliver had some moments in this season. Oliver had some moments.
We'll talk about it offline.
Okay.
I know what you're talking about. You're talking about
he had
the
some
other.
moments. But yeah, I'm going to stay. I'm gonna stay.
Okay. All
Stay,
right.
Bob.
I do want to.
Felt like I was on the Wheel of Fortune, and like somebody was. I'm gonna stay. I'm not gonna spin the wheel.
I do want to thank everyone for tuning in with us again tonight. As you can see, all of us agree, and we enjoyed Invincible Season 3, and we definitely think that it is binge-worthy. It got our highest rating, so it is definitely a season that you should absolutely binge. Please make sure that if you have any marketing needs, any web digital needs, make sure you check out Digital Click, who provides all of our graphics and all the stuff for the web. So if you've seen any of our advertisements or any of our um, you know memes or any of that type of stuff, it's usually done by Digital Click. We have the greatest producer in the land, Mr. Rodney Cajudo, behind the scenes. You heard his voice a little bit, and every now and again you may be able to gaze upon his face. He's usually in the back. Thank you again, Courtney, Catherine, Centel, Randy, Dela, who was with us last week, is not here this week, and also our triple OG, Mr. Charles Babb, who's away at a conference this week. We will be back, same bat time, same bat channel next week, covering the season 2 of Solo Leveling. So see y'all.
Memphis. Bye.
Barbecue.
Barbecue time in the winds.
See, that makes me hungry. And I see y'all.